In the Stone Age, wealth was measured by what you could carry. If you had a sharp spear, a warm fur, and a pouch of dried meat, you were rich, you were mobile, you were dangerous, you were free. If the weather changed, you moved. If the herds migrated, you followed. If a predator appeared, you ran. Your possessions were tools that served your survival. They were extensions of your will, but somewhere along the line the script flipped. We stopped owning things, and things started owning us. Look around your life right now. Look at your house. Look at your garage. Look at that storage unit. You pay $150 a month for 2 houses. Cardboard boxes you haven't opened since 2015. You are not a hunter-gatherer anymore. You are a curator of a museum that nobody visits. You are an unpaid warehouse manager for a logistics company called Your Life. We have been sold a lie. The lie is called the ownership society. It is the belief that the accumulation of physical objects is the scorecard of success. We are taught that the man with the most toys wins. But I am here to tell you that the man with the most toys is usually the most tired, the most stressed, and the most broke man in the room. My name is Brock, and today we are going to talk about the ownership trap. We are going to calculate the true cost of your stuff, not just the price tag, but the shadow cost that drains your life force. We are going to look at the psychology of why we buy things we don't need to impress people we don't like, and I am going to show you how to stage a prison break from your own possessions. Let's start with a fundamental truth of physics and finance. Every physical object you bring into your life has mass, and because it has mass, it has gravity. When you buy a new car, you think you are buying freedom. You see the commercial where the car is driving on an empty coastal highway. But you are not buying the highway. You are buying a liability. You are buying a machine that requires insurance, registration, gas, oil changes, tire rotations, and constant cleaning. You are buying the stress of the first scratch. You are buying the anxiety of the parking lot. Ding! That car does not give you freedom. It gives you a chore. When you buy a big house, you think you are buying stability, but you are actually buying a second job. You are now the CEO of a facility management company. You are responsible for the roof, the HVAC, the plumbing, the lawn, the gutters, and the property taxes. You have to fill the empty rooms with furniture, which means you need to buy more stuff, which means you need to work harder to pay for the stuff. This is what economists call the shadow cost of ownership. The price tag you see in the store is just the entry fee. It is the cover charge to get into the club. But once you are inside, you have to keep paying forever. There is a famous story about the French philosopher Denis Diderot. Diderot lived much of his life in poverty, but he was brilliant. One day, a wealthy patron gave him a beautiful, expensive scarlet robe as a gift. Diderot loved the robe. It was soft, elegant, and luxurious. But when he put it on and sat down at his old, scratched writing desk, he noticed something. The desk looked terrible next to the robe. So, he bought a new desk. Then he noticed that the rug looked ragged compared to the new desk. So, he bought a new rug. Then the curtains looked cheap. Then the chair looked old. Within a few months, Diderot had replaced everything in his apartment. He was in debt. He was stressed. And he wrote an essay titled "Regrets on Parting with My Old Dressing Gown." In it, he wrote, "I was the absolute master of my old dressing gown, but I have become a slave to my new one." This is known as the Diderot Effect. It is the spiral of consumption. One new possession demands another. A new iPhone demands a new case, which demands new AirPods, which demands a new Apple Watch. A new suit demands new shoes, which demands a new belt. You rarely buy just one thing. You buy a chain reaction, and that chain reaction binds you. It anchors you to a lifestyle that requires a high income to maintain. In the Stone Age, if you wanted to leave a bad situation, you just walked away. Today, if you want to leave a bad job, you look at your mortgage, your car payments, your credit card bills for all the furniture, and you realize you can't leave. You are trapped, not by the boss, but by the stuff. Your possessions have formed a union, and they are on strike against your freedom. Let's talk about the inventory management job you didn't apply for. Every item in your house is screaming at you. The dirty dishes scream, "Wash me." The dusty shelves scream, "Dust me." The broken toaster screams, "Fix me." The pile of clothes screams, "Fold me." This creates a phenomenon called cognitive load. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment, processing the status of your possessions. When your environment is cluttered, your brain is overstimulated. You feel anxious, but you don't know why. You feel tired, but you haven't done anything. You are tired because your brain is running a background application called stuff management. It drains your battery. Minimalism isn't just about having white walls and one chair. It is about closing that background application. It is about reclaiming your mental bandwidth. When you walk into a room that has nothing in it but the essentials, your brain goes silent. It relaxes. You have space to think, to create, to breathe. The wealthy understand this. Have you ever noticed that the higher up you go in the social hierarchy, the less clutter you see? Poor people tend to hoard. They hold on to broken things just in case. They fill every surface with knickknacks. They are terrified of scarcity, so they surround themselves with abundance, even if that abundance is junk. Rich people, truly rich people, value space. They value emptiness. Their homes are open. Their desks are clear. They understand that space is the ultimate luxury. They delegate the inventory management to staff, or they simply eliminate the inventory. Now let's look at the financial math of the ownership trap. This is where it gets brutal. Let's talk about the storage unit industry. In America alone, there are over 50,000 self-storage facilities. That is more than the number of McDonald's and Starbucks combined. It is a $40 billion industry. Think about the absurdity of this. We buy so much stuff that it doesn't fit in our houses, which are the largest houses in history, by the way. So, instead of getting rid of the stuff, we drive it to a concrete box on the side of the highway, and we pay rent for it to sit there in the dark. Let's say you pay $150 a month for a storage unit. That's $1,800 a year. If you took that $150 a month and invested it in the S&P 500, earning 8% for 30 years, you would have $225,000. That box of old high school, yearbooks, and broken furniture is costing you $250,000. That is your retirement. That is your freedom. You are trading your future financial independence for the privilege of hoarding garbage. But it goes deeper than storage. It goes to the opportunity cost of capital. Every dollar you spend on a physical object is a dollar that cannot be deployed into an asset. When you buy a $50,000 truck, you are not just spending $50,000, you are spending the investment potential of that $50,000 over 20 years. That $50,000 invested at 8% would grow to $233,000. So the truck didn't cost you $50,000. It cost you $233,000. Was the leather interior worth $250,000? Was the new car smell worth 2 years of early retirement? We need to redefine what wealth means. Society tells you wealth equals stuff. If you have a boat, a jet ski, a summer home, and a Rolex, you are wealthy. I am telling you that wealth equals options. Wealth is the ability to wake up in the morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. Wealth is the ability to quit a toxic job. Wealth is the ability to move to a new city. Wealth is the ability to take a risk. Every physical possession you acquire reduces your options. The boat needs a slip fee. The jet ski needs a trailer. The summer home needs maintenance. The Rolex needs insurance. Each item adds a tether. Each item adds a monthly bill. Each item reduces your gap, the difference between your income and your expenses. The smaller your gap, the more fragile you are. If you make $200,000 a year, but you spend $195,000 a year maintaining your lifestyle empire, you are broke. You are living on the edge of a cliff. One recession, one layoff, one medical emergency, and the whole castle of cards collapses. But if you make $50,000 a year and you only need $25,000 to live because you own nothing and crave nothing, you are unwellable. You are the richest man in Babylon. You have a 50% savings rate. You have freedom. This brings us to the psychological concept of identity purchasing. Why do we buy this stuff? Why do we buy the treadmill we never use? Why do we buy the guitar we never play? Why do we buy the books we never read? We are not buying the object. We are buying the aspiration. When you buy the treadmill, you are buying the fantasy that you are a fit, healthy person. When you buy the guitar, you are buying the fantasy that you are a creative musician. When you buy the books, you are buying the fantasy that you are an intellectual. We try to purchase our personality. We try to signal to the world and to ourselves who we are by what we own. But owning a library doesn't make you smart. Reading makes you smart. Owning a treadmill doesn't make you fit. Running makes you fit. The ownership is a shortcut. It is a way to feel the dopamine hit of becoming that person without actually doing the hard work. It is retail therapy for the soul, but it is a placebo. The treadmill becomes a clothes hanger. The guitar gathers dust, and every time you look at them, they don't make you feel good. They make you feel guilty. They are physical reminders of your failure to act. So, the objects that were supposed to build your ego end up destroying it. Let's look at the philosophy of the Stoics. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, practiced poverty. Once a month, he would wear rough clothes, eat stale bread, and sleep on the floor. He did this to inoculate himself against the fear of loss. He wanted to prove to himself that he didn't need his wealth to be happy. He said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." True power is not having everything. True power is needing nothing. Imagine the power you would feel if you could lose everything you own: your house, your car, your clothes, and, no, with absolute certainty, that you would still be okay, that you would still be you. That is the mindset of the mercenary. That is the mindset of the Stoic. Your possessions are just props. They are the set design of your life, not the plot. If the set burns down, the play continues. The actor is still there. But for most people, the props are the plot. If they lose the BMW, they lose their identity. They lose their sense of self-worth. That is a terrifyingly fragile way to live. So, how do we escape the ownership trap? How do we reverse the Diderot effect? We have to perform a ruthless audit. I want you to try an experiment. It is called the packing party, popularized by the minimalists. Pretend you are moving. Pack everything you own into boxes. Everything. Your clothes, your kitchenware, your toiletries, your electronics. For the next 30 days, only unpack the items you actually need. If you need a toothbrush, unpack it. If you need a plate, unpack it. If you need a shirt, unpack it. At the end of 30 days, look at the boxes that are still sealed. You will be shocked. You will likely find that 80% of your stuff is still in the boxes. You don't use it. You don't need it. It is dead weight. Take those boxes and donate them. Sell them. Burn them. Get them out of your life. The lightness you will feel is indescribable. It is the feeling of chains falling off. If that is too extreme, try the 1 in, 2 out rule. Every time you buy a new item, you must get rid of 2 items. Buy a new shirt. Donate to old ones. Buy a new video game. Sell to old ones. This forces you to curate. It forces you to prioritize. It stops the accumulation algorithm in your brain. And stop upgrading. This is the hedonic treadmill. We adapt to nice things very quickly. You think the heated leather seats in the new car will change your life for 2 weeks? They do. You feel like a king. But by week 3, it's just a car seat. You don't even notice it anymore. But the payment, you notice the payment every single month for 6 years. The pleasure fades instantly. The pain lasts forever. Learn to love the good enough. Your phone is good enough. Your car is good enough. Your house is good enough. Refuse to play the status game. The status game is a race with no finish line. There will always be someone with a bigger boat. There will always be someone with a newer model. If you try to keep up, you will run until your heart explodes. Step off the treadmill. Look at the things you own and ask, does this serve me or do I serve it? Does this buy me freedom or does it cost me freedom? In the Stone Age, we carried our wealth. In the modern age, our wealth carries us. It drags us down. It is time to put the heavy load down. Imagine a life where you can fit everything you truly need in a backpack. Imagine a life where your overhead is so low that you can quit your job tomorrow and not panic. Imagine a life where your identity comes from what you create, not what you consume. That is the life of the free human. That is the life of the owner, not the owned. Don't let your legacy be a storage unit full of junk for your children to argue over. Let your legacy be a life lived with purpose, focused on experiences, relationships, and freedom. The trap is open. The door is unlocked. All you have to do is let go. I'm Brock. Drop the baggage. Run free. I'll see you in the next one.